has now killed more than 10,000 people. And in Iran, health officials say it is killing one person every 10 minutes. Another 149 people have died in Iran in the past day. The death toll now stands at 1,433. That is the third highest national death toll. And there are more than 19,500 confirmed cases of the virus. There are reports that many people have ignored warnings not to travel ahead of the Persian New Year. And behind all of the statistics, of course, there are countless individuals desperately trying to hold back the disease's spread, and no more so than on the medical front line in the country's hospitals. BBC Persian's Rana Rampur has been trawling through social media posts, trying to get an idea of what the medic's life is like. A warning, viewers may find some of her report distressing.
بچه‌ها سلام، خوبین؟ متاسفانه من خوب نیستم.
Hey guys, are you all well? Unfortunately, I'm not well. I still have a fever. I'm taking multiple medications. God willing, they will work.
2 days after posting this video online, Dr. Mehdi Variji was dead. This doctor also passed away. She had continued to work even whilst attached to a drip. Dozens of doctors, nurses, and clerical staff have lost their lives battling COVID-19 in Iran. The government is referring to them as martyrs. It's notoriously difficult to get information out of the country, but across social media, medics tell the same story.
Our staff are risking their lives here and we don't have the equipment. Just look at how unsafe my clothes are.
Just regular plastic bags protect these nurses. Others have had to rely on the kindness of strangers.
The public has brought us these shields, but we need disinfectants. We need protective clothes. The quality of what we have is worse than disposable clothes.
Doctors here, like everywhere else, are having to make life and death decisions.
The hospital is more like a gateway to the next world. This is too painful. So many people are dying. Once you get to the intensive care unit, there is no going back. We don't have enough ventilators. We have to prioritize the young patients over the older ones.
Despite building several new field hospitals, Iran has been widely criticized for its handling of the crisis. But the government says it's been severely hampered by US sanctions. They're exhausted and ill-equipped, but they're determined to keep their patients in high spirits. Rana Rahimpour, BBC News.
Well, that was Rana's report, and she joins me now via Skype. And Rana, when you take as a whole all of the social media interactions that you've been looking at, does it feel like Iran is at the moment totally ill-equipped to cope with the scale of the crisis they've got?
Stephen, it sounds like a lot of help have been sent to Iran, especially help from the World Health Organization. Japan just announced that it's also helping Iran more than $20 million. But the question that many people are asking, especially medical staff, is that why it hasn't reached them, or if it does, it's so slow. We're talking about a very vast country. The coronavirus is now reported in the entire country. All the 31 provinces of the country are battling the coronavirus. And either the process has been too slow or there are other reasons. But according to many of these medics, they haven't received any help yet.
Right. Many Iranians, I think it is fair to say, have a deal of distrust about the information they're getting from public officials. We saw officials come out today and give an update on the number of cases and the deaths, which was in itself very depressing and disturbing. But do you think the Iranian people are any closer to trusting what their government is saying?
They're not, and most of them believe that these numbers are not accurate. They believe that the numbers are much higher, possibly as close as the deaths in Italy. And the reason is that what we hear from the medics and the radiologists who do the CT scans is that they are seeing many more cases, but because they don't have test kits, they're not simply reporting it. And it's not just the government. The people themselves, because they don't trust the authorities, they're not taking it seriously enough. Today is the Iranian New Year, and we have heard that at least more than 1 million people have traveled internally. And it's possible that they have now moved the virus from one city to another, despite the fact that the authorities are begging people to stay indoors and not travel.
Yeah, that's interesting. I've seen pictures of Iranians blithely saying, I'm getting in my car, I'm going to visit family and friends out of Tehran. Why? Why are they doing this?
It's interesting because I've been speaking about it with family in Iran. I say, why are people not taking it seriously enough? I think there's a historic reason and there's possibly a religious reason. Many people believe that, it's life and death is in the hands of God. If you're meant to die, you'll die. Otherwise, we're going to survive. And also, Iran has had a lot of volatility in its history. So I was born during Iran-Iraq war. So my generation is used to the idea of possible death. It's not as scary to many other nations. So I think there's a combination of both and also mistrust of the authorities.
It is indeed a complex story, and Rana, we thank you so much for keeping on top of it for us. And of course, we'll bring you all the very latest from Iran and all the other countries which are at the center of this global pandemic. Let's go to the United States now. It is the biggest lockdown yet to be announced in the US. 40 million people in California have been ordered to stay at home to help fight the spread of the coronavirus. In a stark warning, California's governor, Gavin Newsom, said the disease was now forecast to infect more than half of the state's population by May. And it was time, he said, to make some tough decisions. David Willis reports.
California is America's most populous state. It's also been identified as one of the main centres of the coronavirus here in the US. Now, the state's governor, Gavin Newsom, is ordering people here to stay at home.
We can make decisions to meet moments. And this is a moment we need to make tough decisions. This is a moment where we need some straight talk and we need to tell people the truth. And there's a recognition of our interdependence that requires of this moment that we direct a statewide order for people to stay at home. That directive goes into force and effect this evening, and we are confident that the people of the state of California will abide by it.
The governor calling for $1 billion in federal funding to help cope with that, and for the deployment of a US Navy hospital ship in the port of Los Angeles to provide additional hospital beds. California, it's thought, has 20,000 fewer beds than it may need in order to cope with the effects of this crisis. The announcement came less than an hour after officials in Los Angeles County ordered the closure of all indoor shopping malls and non-essential retail outlets. Gavin Newsom has estimated that more than half of the residents of California could contract the coronavirus over the course of the next 8 weeks. David Willis, BBC News, Los Angeles.
And staying in the United States, 2 senators, Republican senators, are facing calls to resign over allegations they used insider knowledge to sell off shares before the share prices tumbled due to fears over the coronavirus. Richard Burr, the chairman of the Senate Intelligence Committee, is reported to have dumped up to $1.5 million worth of stock last month. Kelly Loeffler, who sits on the Senate Health Committee, is reported to have sold holdings worth up to $3 million in a series of transactions that began on the very same day as a Senate briefing on the virus in late January. Now, both senators deny any impropriety. Let us get a view of how other countries are dealing with this global pandemic. Argentina has become the first country in South America to impose a lockdown on its whole population. The president has announced a, quote, preventive and compulsory closure from Friday to at least the end of March. People will be able to leave their homes to shop for basic goods, food, medicine. Argentina has recorded 128 cases of the virus and 3 deaths thus far. People in the Philippines have been forced to walk for hours along empty roads to get to work after the coronavirus outbreak prompted a shutdown of public transport in the capital, Manila. From midnight on Sunday, foreigners will not be allowed into the Philippines, although the government says all foreign visitors will be allowed to leave the country. In Portugal, a state of emergency has been declared and the country is in lockdown for at least 15 days. All non-essential businesses will be closed to customers, although restaurants will be allowed to provide takeaway service. The country has 786 cases so far.